Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we've got a post from Relationship Advice with a bittersweet update, and then a fantastic petty revenge. So if you want to go ahead and get started with the stories, just use the timestamps below the video. Now, let's get started with that first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user ThrowArraySonHelp. My son's 18 male mother's family poisoned him against me. He thinks I, 33 male, abandoned him. Judging by the age, I'm guessing you all know how young I was when he was born. His mom, my ex, and I were best friends since we were in kindergarten. She was the love of my life. We were together from 5th grade up until our sophomore year. Her family just made us stop having contact. They moved and everything. For the longest time, I wondered why, but now I know my answer. At the beginning of June, I'm sent a text from an unknown number. You don't know me, but... And after a long message, he tells me he's my son and wanted me to know he graduated from high school and got accepted into college, no thanks to me. He just wanted me to know that he managed to do it without his deadbeat father. I have my cell number on my Facebook page and stuff, so he probably got it from there. Part of me was thinking this had to be a prank, but he mentioned my ex. I had to call him and asked to meet up. He at least agreed to it. I was nervous meeting him and he seemed to hate me. It was very emotional for me because I saw so much of my ex in him and also some of me, and I never had a clue. My ex passed when he was 2. Her parents told him I wanted no involvement in his life. But I was never even told of his existence. I absolutely would have been around if I knew I got her pregnant. He didn't believe me and he thinks I'm just trying to cover my ass. That's not it, but he seems to think so. They went as far as to tell him I broke up with her when she told me and wanted nothing to do with him, as a way to convince him he doesn't need a dad like me in his life. My son left the park where we met still not believing me. He was really upset. What stung the most was the hate on his face. The way he was looking at me like I'm the biggest piece of crap on the planet. I'm crushed. I told him I want to know more about him, be in his life, and absolutely would have if I'd known. He doesn't seem to want anything to do with me. They've said too much against me. How do I get him to see that I'm telling the truth? I'm heartbroken over this. Never wanted him to think he was unwanted his whole life. Is there any way to convince him I didn't know anything about him? Or what do I do to navigate things with him? Wow, OP, first of all, let me start by saying your ex's family are horrible. Not only did they hide your son away from you, but they had him grow up to believe his father didn't love him enough to stay in his life. He resents you and hates your guts out of a lie. That is going to be difficult to overcome, especially after 18 years of reinforcement. In my opinion, trying to clear your name and build a relationship are two different things. If you want to clear your name, then you need facts. The first place I'd go looking is in the past. Is there somebody from your time when you guys were together that can back up your story? I don't know, also high school albums, letters, anything that can help you prove that you had no idea that he existed. And on the relationship building part, I would say consistency in wanting to be in his life and time. Give the kid space to get used to you. It'll probably be an uphill battle considering he still lives with her family and they've got them reinforcing how much you suck. But don't let up if this is something that you truly want. What do you guys think? What kind of advice would you give OP? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Wise Old Man says, "This is obviously going to be very hard to negotiate. Your son will need space and time, so take it slowly. If he comes to accept your story, then he will also have to deal with the fact that your ex's parents effectively deprived him of a father for 18 years. Heavy stuff. See if you can get him to agree that you can email or write him. Then set your story again, trying not to be judgmental of others, but just putting it from your point of view. Giving him facts he can check, like that your ex's family moved away when she was pregnant with him. That can help show that your version of events checks out. Also, are your parents still around? Because if so, they have a grandchild they never knew about. Perhaps they can confirm that you are telling the truth. I would think that over time, your son is going to want to find out the facts for himself, but you can't just expect him to take your word for it right away. But if you are non-confrontational and you make it about him, not you, chances are the truth will be known in the end. And OP responds, "Thank you. I told him he has my number if he ever wants to reach out. I've set a special ringtone for the number he contacted me on and always got my phone at full volume in case he texts or calls. I get it's too much for him. Hell, if it's a lot for me, I can even imagine how it is for him. I'm just praying he comes around. And yes, my parents are still around. It's possible they can confirm I was never told." Realistic Airport 775 says, "He contacted you. He agreed to meet you. Now he has a lot of confusing information that he was not expecting. Give it time. Offer for him to meet with your parents if he wishes to. Don't push anything. If he comes back, then maybe say, 'What happened in the past is done. I cannot change that. I didn't know I had a son, and you cannot change what you have been told. But we can create a new relationship going forward, if you want to. Then I am more than willing to support whatever you want this relationship to be.' With time, he will see that you are not the person that he was told you were, and that you are in fact a decent human being. He can then go back and see if he can get answers from his grandparents. But they may also have been told by her that you left, etc. So they may not even know the truth, though the moving away thing is fishy." Eliza Candle says, "First off, this effing sucks. I am so sorry you were robbed of your child's entire childhood. You must be reeling here. As for your son, I would suggest continuing to reach out to him, but in a non-pushy way. Don't assume he will or make him call you dad. Validate his anger. It's not his fault he was lied to. Tell him that you understand his anger and that you see why he's so angry and that he has every right to be angry. However, you did not know. Reiterate that as many times as it takes. Tell him that you too are angry that you missed every birthday and childhood milestone of his. Keep reaching out, checking in, asking if he needs anything. Tell him to confront his grandparents. Tell him to find the truth." And OP responds, "It hurts knowing the time we missed. Then with my ex passing, it must have been hard on him. I'm hoping with all my heart he comes around eventually. Thank you for these tips. I don't want to give up on him. We lost way too much time already." Okay, well in my opinion the community came through with some really good advice for OP. Starting with OP's parents, of course they can back up his story, as I would believe any grandparent would want to meet their grandchild, especially if they never knew he existed. And then everybody was telling him to give his kid space and time and to be a consistent presence if he can. That should help build the relationship. Now, we know that OP has given us an update, so let's move on with that now. Honestly, I wasn't sure about posting this. It's been a very emotional heavy ordeal and I'm not usually one to post such personal things. But you all helped a lot, and if it hadn't been for your suggestions, I'd probably still be lost. Well, more lost than I still am right now. I decided to go ahead and find some way to prove things happened the way they did. Old friends of hers from school, family. At least so he'd know the real truth and not just my word against theirs. It took some time, but I actually managed to find and get in touch with my ex's older sister. She wasn't as open to meeting me. Practically had to beg her to at least give me a half hour. Not only was my son told that I bailed on him, but she was told too. Not by my ex though, their parents. I explained my side of it. It didn't seem like she believed me. The thing is, she was across the country in college already, so was told what happened. I thought I had hit a dead end with her, only she calls me days later crying. This is where it gets personal. My ex passed away because she was depressed and well, she did something. She left letters for everyone. Her sister, their parents, my son, and apparently me. The thing is, they never gave it to me, obviously. Her sister kept it. But again, she thought I was a deadbeat and felt I didn't deserve my ex's last words. She apologized for that. Our meeting sparked interest, and she decided after all that time to read what my ex wrote to me. She felt weird about reading it before because my ex intended it to be only for me, so to her, it seemed like it might be disrespectful, but she went ahead and read it. All of it was there. Her apologies for never telling me the truth, letting her parents make this decision to keep me from him. Many other personal things that I'd rather not get into here. Her sister came over with the letter. I finally got to read it and it hit me so hard instantly. I think it's the first time since this came out that I really acknowledged the fact that I lost her. Her sister agreed to talk to my son alone. It's all out there now. He called me that same week to ask if we can talk and came here to my place. I could tell this was hard on him, just how he still looked angry at me, but was pretty emotional too. I just told him how sorry I was for not being there. He deserved a father and I couldn't be that when he needed it. And like I told him before, I'm open to being whatever he'd like me to be in his life. After a while, we wound up on the topic of his mom, and I was able to freely talk about it for hours. He was very curious about that. I took out old pictures and everything. The first conversation we got to have without any hostility or tensions. I did break down a few times talking about her, but he seemed to understand. He came over around 9 and it was past midnight by the time we looked at the clock. My son hasn't said anything about what he'd like from our relationship, but he says we can keep talking. I know it's going to take a lot of time and he's not in the best place right now mentally or emotionally. From what her sister told me, he really went off on her parents. Well, they both did. Right now, he's staying with a friend and she's helping him look for his own place. He's got so much going on, so I'm following everyone's advice here, giving him all the time and space he needs. I'm ready to be there for him whenever he needs me, and he at least seems open to it. We have only talked a few more times since. He's still a bit short with me, not as angry as he was before at least. He knows the truth now, and that's the most important part. It's a bit conflicting because I'm happy that he believes me and giving us the opportunity to talk, but also sad that his whole world is a mess right now and he's trying to deal with it. Sorry for the long post. I know it's quite a bit, but it's so much that's happened in such a short period. It's not perfect. I don't think it'll ever be. He knows he was lied to and we're talking little by little. All I really hoped for. Thank you Reddit for this support. I'll definitely be following your advice as some of you gave some really good ones. Well, OP, of course it sucks that your son's life has been turned on its head because, yeah, I mean, getting these news must be life-changing. But the good thing is that he's more open to having a relationship with you and maybe you can be that stability that he needs. Of course, give him time to come to you, but hopefully that'll be something that happens naturally. So in the meantime, I'll just wish you and your son the best in what's coming up for the both of you. Take care, OP. And now, we move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user This Is Driving Me Batty. Badmouth me and assume I don't speak the language? I'll kill you with kindness. I am a light-skinned Latina American, and I lived in Korea for a couple of years during university and grad school, as my major was Korean interpretation and translation. During my time in Korea, I was lucky enough to attend music shows from time to time. For the K-pop uninitiated, music shows are free to enter, provided you have at least one of 3 items. A copy of the album of the group you're coming to see. B, proof of purchase of the album digitally on one of the approved music vendors in Korea. Or C, the official light stick from the most recent concert. Priority entry was always given to official fan club members who had all 3, then fan club members who had 2 of the 3, and then fan club members who had 1. After that came non-members in the same priority tier. The group I had come to see hadn't opened an official fan club registration in almost a decade, so the group's management decided to do away with the fan club priority and did it on a first come, first served basis, but kept the whole 3 items go first, then 2, then 1 thing. I had all 3 and I got there early, so I got a good spot in line. These queues often had us waiting outside for hours while the previous round of filming finished up. The thing about these music show venues is they're very small. They have limited capacity and allow 2 or 3 groups of fans in to watch them film at a time. So not all people who queue for a group get in. In this particular instance, there was trouble with foreign fans causing trouble by taking pictures, not listening to instructions. So venue staff literally went through and quizzed each foreigner in line on their Korean. If you couldn't understand, you were booted. I passed with flying colors and kept my spot in line. Here's where the revenge starts. I was minding my own business playing games on my phone after passing my Korean quiz with the staff, when I heard the girl behind me talking crap. She was chatting with a friend, I suspect, because she was dropping a lot of curse words and specifically mentioned, "These foreign roaches ruining things for us, I want to kill them." She mentioned me in particular and said that she'd bet I bribed the staff to keep my spot in line even though I couldn't understand Korean. Okay, so it's harmless crap talk. I don't know this girl and I don't know her friend. In the long run, it doesn't affect me, right? But it really rubbed me the wrong way, especially because she was talking quite loudly. So I grabbed my wallet, politely and quietly asked the Korean girls in front of me to watch my bag and hold my place in line, and went to the convenience store. I bought a round of water for everyone. It was heavy. I had about a dozen bottles of water. I get back to my spot in line, thanked the girls in front of me for holding my spot, then gave them each a water. I gave a water to the group in front of them too. Then I kept one for myself and turned around and handed one to the girl on the phone with a smile. Immediately, she lit up and thanked me in English, smiling bright and taking her phone away from her ear. As I hand her the water, I say in perfect Korean and still smiling, "The next time you loudly crap talk the foreigners, make sure they can't actually understand you." When I tell you it went silent in the immediate area, you could hear a pin drop. Her smile melted off her face faster than an ice cream cone on Florida pavement. She turned beet red and muttered to her friend on the phone that she had to go and sheepishly apologized. I accepted. She had water and I felt better about myself. Bonus, the girls in front of me heard the whole thing and adopted me into their group for the day. Fun was had all around. Fantastic, OP. You took a higher road than the high road and put her in her place for being a jerk. And you didn't blow the top of your head or get us superly offended or anything like that. You proved a saying we have in my country that says, being courteous doesn't take away from being courageous. Lo cortés no quita lo valiente. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.